What's up, everybody? It's your bro Gamer Ninja here with the patch preview for 2.1.0. So while going through this to see any weapon balances and such, I was actually surprised to see that it was all about the Titans. Oh, and apparently it was dropped yesterday, but could not be found, even though they tweeted about it today. But back to the good stuff. Titans. We are no longer getting the T-Rex arms as in our melee range is being able to compete with not only Warlocks, but those Blink Strike Hunters. Wow, I cannot English today, even though I wrote everything down. I'm reading it from a script. Alright. Granted, we're going from a 4-meter strike range to a 4.5-meter strike range. It is a gain of 12.5%, and it's a gain only for Titans across the board. All the subclasses for Titans. No other classes are being touched, and it's about time. To add to that, Stormfist is getting an 18.2% base damage buff, and Sunstrikers. Oh no. The melee for the Sunstrikers. Oh yeah, it is Sunstrike. God, yep, I can't English today. I'm sorry, everybody. And Sunstrike damage over time is getting reduced by a second. So it's going from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. It's not really that big of a deal. For some people, if you're trying to hit someone and you're trying to get that last tick of damage off on them, and that second just goes, yeah, it really hurts. Other than that, sorry about Defenders, but all you get is that extended range along with the others. So, Disintegrate, yeah, it's just hit them and pray that it works. Now for the supers, especially Hammer of Thor, I mean Hammer of Soul. Everyone has been complaining about them being too OP. All you people can now rejoice. The damage resistance for Sunbreakers is being reduced by 9.09%, and the hammer travel speed is getting slowed down as well by 1.32%. No more should we hear about complaints in the Crucible. But you know what? I'm still unsure. Yeah, I'm sure about people are still going to complain, but I'm actually unsure how drastic these changes are. I'm still sure, like I said, that people are going to say that it wasn't decreased enough, but there's always those few. Strikers, there are no updates to your supers, but I think defenders should be happy about this little buff to your super. Upon you casting your super, your grenade and melee abilities will automatically recharge. So that way, when you cast it, it's like, oh, I accidentally used my Disintegrate or I accidentally used my Void Grenade beforehand. Cast your super, everything's back. Not really that big of a deal, but it's the little things that might actually save you in the end. Just a quick little movement buff before I move on to the parts about the passive abilities. Catapult Lift. I'm not really sure anybody else uses it, but Catapult is now getting a 5% faster initial velocity buff. Yay, but I don't think it's going to make me want to use this over the other two jump abilities. I see no reason to use Catapult. Might be a few people that do. I just don't see the worth in it. Now, to the Sunbreaker's passives, and I'm sorry if this sounds too much like a list, but it technically is. Forge Master is getting a 20% splash damage detonation reduction, and Flameseeker is getting a 25% reduction in the tracking bonus. Might help, might not. Oh, and also Flameseeker is getting the +1 recovery and agility stat bonuses removed. I never really noticed it, but apparently it was there, and now it's going bye-bye. Also, Cauterize is now getting a 3-second cooldown, which I'm not surprised about, so no one can now tank through their enemies. Fleet Fire is getting a plus to the agility stat, and Firekeeper is getting a +1 to the recovery stat. I actually have to double check my Titans just to see what exactly I'm using in the skill tree. But that might actually be helpful, especially with the recovery stat, because I tend to like to stay out in the open, and it might just help a little bit. It's the little things. Next up is Striker's passive abilities. Headstrong is now providing a faster sprint, and Transfusion is getting a 2-second faster cooldown, going from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. Unstoppable is getting a +1 to the armor rating and is getting a 25% increase in its damage resistance. Now, for one of my favorite perks for the Fist of Panic class is Juggernaut. This perk is getting a 14.3 in shield health and is now working while airborne. You can now literally turn it into a running shield. And I could only imagine the panic I will cause by running straight at an enemy with that shield and then starting to say, oh shit. Defenders. Well, you're getting nothing done to any of your passives. Apparently they think defenders are great as they are, and honestly, I don't see anything wrong with them as well. I had to put in that as well there, I couldn't really remember. Defenders are mainly a PvE subclass, and maybe that's why they didn't really touch them, since it looks like a lot of these changes have to do with people that play PvP. Honestly, I'm not surprised. There's no one complaining about the Hammer of Soul in PvE. There's no one complaining about the Strikers in PvE. It's only PvP. So yes, people, they've listened to your complaints about everyone in PvP, and that's most likely where all these changes are coming from. Like I said, can't English today. Don't know why. Other than that, the rest of the preview is a bit on the analytical side, and I honestly just don't have the attention span to pay attention to it. I'm actually surprised they didn't talk about the weapon updates. They were gonna be making, but I guess they're gonna talk about it when they drop the update sometime next week. It'll probably be in that little patch update thing that they always do with every patch that they do, like the hot fixes. But still, I'm a little surprised they didn't talk about the auto rifle rebalancing and the pulse rifle. We already know the shotguns are gonna get hurt all to hell. It's not gonna end well for the shotguns. I love my shotgun. I love using it in the Crucible. But I think fusion rifles are gonna be the way to go. So that means I might want to start practicing with my Telesto and other fusion rifles. Alright. As for that, have a good night, everybody. I will see you before you see me.